Good morning. This is Ruth of Random Thoughts. I uploaded a video not too long ago, and I've been thinking, and to know me would be to hear about me. I was born November 6, 1954. I'm the oldest of my mother and my father's children. My oldest brother is 12 years older than me, and my sister is 8 years older than me. And they were my mom's children, but they're my sister and brother. Um, and then I have three younger sisters and a younger brother. And, you know, not all our childhoods are rosy. I mean, I had a good childhood, but there are some dark spots in my childhood, which uh, I think I was thinking about last night, which brought on my feelings this morning. Um, my father, he was always a truck driver. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. And, you know, I've seen things um, in my childhood that they're not good. Some things happened to me that I'll talk about. And for me, they're a hard lesson or kind of disturbing to bring to light. Um, I've always seen, since my two older siblings were not my father's, he adopted them. He tended to be harder on them. Um, I've seen him beat my older brother, um, which, I understand my older brother's feelings towards him. And I've seen him do, I've heard of him doing things to my sister that would cause her not to like him. I've seen him smack my mom when she was pregnant, um, which led to my older brother being defensive towards her. Um, One time he took off with my one younger sister, Lisa, and went to his father, and my aunt lived together. My aunt took care of my grandfather. And he went over there with my sister. She was only 6 weeks old. And it must have been a terrible time for my mother, because my father did drink. And when uh, he did irresponsible things. He would put us in the car and drive with us, and you're a little kid sitting in the back of the car, you're scared to death of something like this. And that's why I don't like to drink. That's why I don't like to be around people that do drink and are uncontrolled with it. It makes me very nervous. But when he went over there, I remember my Aunt Helen told him, he said, you take that baby back to its mother now, which he did. Um, and, my father, he would be gone for a week. He'd come home on the weekend and stuff. But there's things that pop in my head when I was little, uh, like my mom and dad fighting over she needed clothes soap to do laundry. I All I can remember is, and I was small, but all I can remember is somehow I'd gotten out of the house. I don't know. I could have been 3 or 4. I don't know. Because children remember things that are traumatic at the time, and you'll remember them. Most of the time, you don't remember when you're a younger child what goes on. Um, but things that are traumatic, you will remember. Um, I remember standing at this busy street, and Lord, I don't know how I got across it, but I did. And there was this little store um, that was like 2 blocks away from our house. And I was like on a factory side of the street. And I walked across this big, busy street. I walked into this store, and I remember picking up some clothes soap. And I know the guy was standing at the counter because, I glimpsed him as a child. And I remember picking it up and turning around and walking back out. That's all I remember that incident. So I must have gotten home, or my dad must have come out and looked for me. Because then I remember him being there, and he took me back into the store. And he told the man she took this out of the store. And he said, "Why, no, she did." And he said, "If there wasn't a problem and you would buy your wife soap, I don't think your child would have been in here." Uh, that's one thing I remember. So I didn't get in trouble for it. And then I used to always remember when I was little, well, I would, all through my life, I've remembered this. I remember my sister. Now, you have to understand, she's 8 years older than me. I don't know how old I could have been. I could have been 3. I could have been 4, which would have made her 11. All I remember is I had the instinct that she was carrying me, and I was looking backwards, and she was running around the house. And I always wondered, did that really happen? What was this? And I finally asked her, and she told me. She said, well, that Dad was wrestling around with her, and he had squeezed her head too tight between his knees, and it hurt, and she started crying. And I don't know if he was been drinking or what, but he had said something to her, and she told me that she could hear him loading a rifle. So she picked me up because she said she knew that if she had me, he wouldn't hurt her. And she had carried me outside, and had next door, my aunt had lived there, and she said that she was running over to my aunt's house with me because she knew he wouldn't hurt her if she had me. That's one thing I remember. And, it's not easy to talk about stuff like that happens in your family. Um, I was always a quiet child. Always did what my mother told me to do, and my father. I didn't step out of line with them. I just knew that you listen to them. And I was considered, I think, a shy child. And then when my others came along, of course, I had one sister. She's very boisterous and little. And my brother, he was, we were good kids. Um, but I was the one that was the most shy about stuff. Or if I did something, I was probably sneaky about it. I wasn't always probably good. I mean, I was probably mean to my siblings. Um, but that's one part of my life that I remember. Another time was, You always think about, well, children tend to hide things, something that would have happened, and they push them down. And sometimes things spark them that brings them back up. And then you see and you say, oh, that's why. That's why. Um, I don't know how old I was. I know this. I used to go down and visit this little girl and play with her. Um, Kind of like just none of my other family, none of the other kids went with me. I would go down there, and I don't know. I think she was probably about 5, and I that could have put me around 9 or 10. And I'd just go down and play with her, talk to her mom, which her mom was really nice, and she also had a little brother and her dad. And I just remember we would have a good time. We'd go outside and we'd play. And her father used to come out and help. You know, I remember one time he built us this tunnel out of cardboard boxes and stuff. And it was quite an extensive tunnel and had rooms in it and stuff. And we would just play in there for hours, out in the backyard. Just, she had a ball, and I did too. But one time I went there, and I was waiting for her to come out, so I was crawling around inside the tunnels with the boxes and just sitting in there waiting for her. Her dad came in there, and he was crawling around, and he was talking to me. And I don't really know what happened, but I remember that I was laying face down on the floor of the cardboard, and that he had laid on top of me. And nothing happened, but that was weird. I don't think then, I don't know what I was thinking. Um, I knew I got out of there and I went home. And his mother lived like down the alley from us. And she came to my mom, and I thought I'd done something wrong because she told my mom that I shouldn't be allowed to go down there and play. So I thought I had did something wrong, most definitely something. And, now thinking back, she was trying to protect me. That, this man was definitely a molester. And she was just trying to protect me. But in a child's mind, you feel that you did something wrong. Well, we had moved, and we moved over on the north end of town, bought a house, big house. And they had moved over um, on this bigger street, and it wasn't too far from us. Oh, I think it was probably about 5 blocks away. And I think I was probably about 13 then. Or, yeah. Hold on a minute. Reuben! But anyway, wait a minute. I gotta go see what he's doing here. Get out. Stop. And I'm back. He's in there tearing up stuff and trying to. I don't know if I can get this edited out or not, but, you know. Anyway, I started going over there, and I had an old bicycle, the ones with the balloon tires, and it was a big bike, and I went over there to their house where they moved, and we'd go out and play. We still had the box um, tunnels. We'd build tunnels, playhouses and stuff. And her little brother would play with us. And I can't remember. I don't think he made any attempts towards me, but he had sometimes guys show more attention to little kids than is normal. And I don't know his wife. I don't know why she didn't say something. But I do remember that I'd be in there talking to her and stuff and helping her. And I noticed the little girl. She had between her legs, she was, it was very red and would be very dry, almost peeling effect of the skin. And I had asked the mother, I said, what is wrong with her? And she said, oh, she, she pees the bed and it burns her skin. Well, this is kind of like tight skin. Um, like if you got an abrasion or something, um, it would be crackle like, and seep and stuff like that. Well, as a child, I didn't think nothing of that. I just took her mother's word for granted um, because she was the adult. And as an adult now, I do know what it was from. It was, I feel he molested her. And the evidence was the way her skin looked on her upper thighs, which I just find that horrid. But that kind of stuff happened back then. People didn't talk about it. Um, Wives hushed it up um, and made excuses. But I do know that he still tried to attempt to act like a good person. Like he decided, oh, we should paint your bike. And I'm a kid, so I go along with it. Like I said, he never made no attempts with me, but he still was. If my mother had really known what was going on, she would not allow me to go there. But, she thought this lady was a nice lady, and I was just over there helping her out with the kids. So that's part of my childhood that, to me, I'm not proud of. And it's hard for me to talk about it. When I had to go on disability, I had to, do all kinds of things for Social Security. One of them was I had, they had talked to me and said, you have a chronic depression problem. So we want you to go see a psychiatrist. So, for them, they paid for it. I had to go talk to the psychiatrist. And, I just went down there and, I don't think I have a problem, I don't, but I'm doing what they want me to do. And psychiatrists are strange. They get in your mind and you're not aware they're there, or what they're pulling out, or what they're seeing. They have you do certain things, like count backwards by 7, which I failed that miserably. And I would say things like, oh, this is repetition. And, he kind of looks at you funny. Uh, but he had told me, now, before I start, I must tell you, anything you tell me that is an endanger to children or anything, I'll have to report it. And I think I did tell him about when I was little and I was running around, and stuff like that. Well, you can report that if you want, but that happened a long time ago. And the people involved are no longer alive. So I just remember when I left that office, I was confused. And when I went outside, I felt like I was sick to my stomach. I don't know why you'd feel like that if you're talking to a psychiatrist, feel like you're sick at your stomach. But I did. So, well, I've got to let the dog out, and I'll talk some more about my life, and we'll just have this be part one, and then we'll go from there. I'll see you in a little bit. Bye bye.